To get started here. You're all recording. So we had some challenges.
What, baby?
Was it another meeting, and so Mike came and was holding down the fort, and Zoom didn't work. So we have some.
Yeah, they made that and then they realized there were seeds in it, so I think.
So we do have 2 months worth of meeting minutes and 2 months worth of treasurer's reports to approve tonight. So going first off, going through the agenda, is there any adjustments anybody wants to make to the agenda this evening? Hearing none from the council and seeing Sandy, did you have something? You're on mute. You're still on mute. Did you have something?
On the emails that were sent, the email that was sent out, the attachments have two notes
Hold on, Sandy.
gone. Am I still here?
There you go. There we go. Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
On the email that was sent out, there were two attachments for this meeting for the minutes, but the October meeting was not on there.
Okay, so in the room here, we have both the September and October meeting minutes. So you're telling me that the folks online do not have the October meeting minutes? Is that what you're saying?
We had two November copies and not the October copy.
With the October. So then we will go through, there are no November meeting minutes yet because we haven't done November. So there would be September and October. Do you have September or do you have October or neither?
We have neither.
September and then there was no October. I think that's what I saw.
Okay, so then
First on the email.
Yeah, it's right. I'm looking at what you sent. We have meeting minutes.
It's one of them.
there was
We have September.
We have September and October's finances, but there was only a November 16th council meeting agenda for today. September and October council meetings agendas were not on the emails.
The draft council meeting minutes stated 11/16 are actually the agenda tonight.
Okay. So, but the September meeting minutes were on there. Okay, so then let's go ahead and look at the September meeting minutes, if there are any adjustments to the September meeting minutes.
September.
Hearing no adjustments, do I have approval of the September meeting minutes? Everybody approves, say aye. Greg
Aye.
and Mary Clem, you're muted.
This is Greg. I say aye.
Thank you, Mary Clem.
I tried to give you a thumbs up on the participants, but
I found it. Thank you.
okay.
The October meeting minutes, we will then hold over to January. They are minimal because there was no Zoom. We did not have a quorum and the meeting was fairly short. So I will make sure that they get out in the January meeting and we will approve them with January. There are two treasurer reports, one for September, one for October. Sandy, anything you want to mention on the two treasurer reports?
Those 2 months are what balanced with the statement. We have now received a reimbursement from the Firewise and the Title III from the Mother Council. And so that puts us up to about $2,099, but we also have expenditures I need to write checks for about $835.
Perfect. Any questions
See, it's stalled. The guy told me that Zoom meetings take. Katie's still there tonight?
No, she's fine. She's just sharing.
Oh,
Can't figure out what wall that is. He's up against. It's the wood floor, but where is he?
Go back and go in again. Go in again, that's all. Okay, anyway, so what's up? You're driving. Oh. Yeah, when are you gonna come? Okay, well, when you do, let us know. Well, whenever you want is fine. I'm still waiting for Sivan to get back to me. I don't. Oh, I
You can keep those faces.
and I really, it's gonna be a freaking lot of people, and I just hope people test me.
Oh, I don't want to know.
15, 16. Well, I had done that when I thought I was gonna do it. And she and Elisheva said that was okay. But now I'm starting to get really nervous about all these people in the COVID business and everything. A lot of people are gonna be in that house. And I don't even want to go anymore, to be honest with you. How many people are you there? Well, his contingent is a
What's it supposed to be about tonight?
Supposed to have a guest speaker on the radio.
Okay,
Yeah, the
so I'm
carrots
temporarily
do
running.
business. Yeah.
Off the hotspot. Can everybody hear me
You're muted.
online? Sandy, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
There's about
Perfect.
a dozen people sitting
So
in the
we
audience. Where's
have
the
this
physical
here,
meeting?
we're trying to refix the Wi-Fi,
Yeah,
so
Jen,
temporarily,
this is Greg.
with me on the hotspot.
People that are interfering, so
Roger,
it's
or excuse me,
Part,
Mary,
yeah.
Clem, and Greg. Do you approve the treasurer reports?
yes,
That
I
was a
did, Janet.
yes. Perfect, Greg, thank you. So I believe we have enough approvals to approve the treasurer
Aaron
reports
Hargo
for
is
September and
on
October.
the Zoom listening. Yeah.
Oh,
A reminder to folks online to mute, because we can hear everything that you say. So moving on, for partner reports. Yes. I don't see anybody. Is there anybody from Pioneer Fire? Nobody from Pioneer Fire, anybody? I don't see anybody from Sheriff's OES. Ken, would you like to actually, Ken and Nakona, do you want to give reports?
Because Nakota did such a great.
Here? She's online. Oh, I'm gonna make you.
We may not be able to hear.
Yeah.
But
So, yeah, because I think so you guys are currently off of my computer, so I don't know that everybody can hear you. So Ken, would you like to give the report for,
yeah, and then Nakona job this morning of taking notes at this morning's meeting. A lot going on. We had a presentation by the UC Cooperative Extension, University of California Cooperative Extension. They gave us an overview of the Prescribed Burn Association for El Dorado and Amador counties, and they talked a lot about what is occurring as they're assisting private landowners with very small everything from like quarter acre up to maybe 2 acres. They've been working through across the state with the changes associated with liability related to landowners performing their own prescribed burns. The state has now provided a certification course for burn bosses, and so they are working through to help some landowners over time become trained and achieve that certification. But this is still they're in the stages of acceptance, if you will, because of course, understanding the challenges associated with putting any kind of fire on the ground, weather, vegetative conditions, smoke management, all of that, and having sufficient and appropriate resources to maintain containment of the fire. But there's a whole process that assures there are burn plans that follow a standard, and those burn plans are approved and permit is achieved through CAL FIRE, prior to a project that's implemented. And so far, they in the El Dorado Amador Burn Association area, I think they've accomplished 2 burns to date, but they continue to do outreach with landowners to see if they can get folks interested. It's been mostly educating to date, not a lot of necessarily getting actual fire on the ground, but more to care, and they will follow back up, in the months to come with any updates. But this is a movement afoot across the state, as the science is telling us, forest landscapes need fire to survive. They did naturally, and they're going to burn one way or the other. So it's trying to reintroduce fire. Of course, the challenge is small landowners don't have access to fire engines and hand crews and all those resources. So the liability falls squarely on a landowner if he or she is going to engage in this process outside of another agency doing it. So again, lots of work, but it's a program that's starting to get across our area and the state. I was mentioning this with Mike Cook here a few minutes ago. We had a long discussion on where the defensible space inspection and defensible space assessment training is going statewide. State Marshal's office has just certified a defensible space inspection course for agencies in California. It's a 3-day course that includes on the ground as well as classroom time, both defensible space, all the zones, including zone 0, as well as ignition resistant construction, all of it built into one standardized course statewide for all agencies, CAL FIRE, fire districts, et cetera. That has now been, again, approved, and that will be rolled out early next year in some pilot trainings for our agencies. We're currently, and I can tell you that El Dorado County, our Fire Safe Council and others are leading the effort to have that course transitioned to and be made available for non-agency, non-government organizations, Fire Safe Council folks to perform defensible space assessments. So the terminology is changing from evaluations to assessments for the Fire Safe Councils. There's currently a proposal on the table that's going to the state fire marshal's office for a pared down course to 16 hours, still a lot. As I mentioned, this curriculum now includes a significant amount of information that is standardized across the state, and the future of defensible space assessments includes all of the home hardening recommendations and evaluation, as well as the defensible space pieces, as well as around 4 hours of on the ground training as part of this course. In El Dorado County, it'll be taught as in a partnership with CAL FIRE, the Fire Safe Council, and the fire prevention officers with our fire districts in the county. So it will be one course made available for the Fire Safe Councils and others. So we currently have a proposal going back to the state fire marshal. We want them to certify this course statewide. So again, everyone will be the same fire defensible space assessment course. We queried the attendees at the meeting this morning, and to a T, every Fire Safe Council of our Fire Safe Councils in attendance said they would be willing and very interested in sending their defensible space assessors or evaluators through this course. And Mike and I just chatted a little bit, and he certainly sees some interest in his program. And so again, it's an investment. Obviously, 16 hours, 2 days is a lot for volunteers. The state or the county Fire Safe Council will cover any certification costs that come. They'll be actually given a certificate if this is done the way that we're hoping it's done. But this is huge because it's not just for us doing defensible space evaluations to assist our community, it's also, this is the future of Firewise communities. In just for our council alone in 2026 or 25, I think it's 25, we will have to update our risk assessment than when we did originally in 2019. That requires, the bar is really being raised. That really requires going out and assessing a percentage of our homes to the same standard. And it's going to be very important that we have evaluators or assessors available to perform that even in our own community. So a lot more to come. Again, we spent a lot of time talking about that today, but it is a huge step forward for not only us in El Dorado County, but where things are going statewide. Grants, their CAL FIRE will be coming out shortly. The date hasn't been set yet, but coming out shortly with the next round of California Climate Investment grants that they provide, make available every year. The same grant opportunity that we were funded for the South County grant project. Pat Kidder or Pat Dwyer, our grants program manager, had sent out some information for state councils, looking for some input for what folks are thinking. But there is definitely a discussion and a desire for, one, we've got a lot on our plate right now for the grants that are being managed across the county with the various fire safe councils, but certainly looking at any new opportunities to look at that they are continued a combined effort approach, not necessarily individual councils, but working together to get a bigger bang for the buck and sort of divide and conquer the work and not compete with each other. So we'll know more when CAL FIRE releases that date. The Forest Health Grants, which is a companion program from CAL FIRE to that, those grants are coming out on December 15th. And there will be an application window through the end of February for those applications. And we're currently looking at that with CAL FIRE at the County Fire Safe Council level to see where folks might want to go with that. And what's important, 5C3 nonprofit fiscal sponsor for almost all of the associate councils. And so an associate council can't really apply for a grant without ensuring that the County Fire Safe Council has the capacity to be the fiscal sponsor, because there's no legal way for an associate council to take those funds. So again, we want to have a discussion and coordinate, make sure we have the bandwidth and workload ability to get that done. So a lot coming there. Another piece on the big piece of the news coming out is that the first week of December, CAL FIRE will be mailing to all of the counties the long-awaited updated fire hazard severity zone maps. These maps have been in the works since before 2010. The updates are finally completed and being rolled out through a variety of stakeholder public hearing processes. They're going to be very formal, no real opportunity for the rollout meetings. But there will be feedback and public comment opportunity over the next several months, at least. So December 15th in the afternoon, 1 o'clock, will be the public hearing for El Dorado County, where these maps will be mailed. And the biggest changes here are there's the updates to the map incorporate new technologies that are available, particularly looking at the influence of wind on fire conditions on the ground, updated vegetation layers, so that overall they're assessing the hazard in a bit more refined way. I think we can anticipate areas around our county will be increasing in the areas that are designated very high fire hazard, as well as those that are potentially moving up into the high fire hazard zone. So more to come out on that. Again, you'll see some things publicly. There'll be opportunities to comment back to date. And that process will be taking place again over the next several months. But that's a pretty significant release of information awaited, potentially has impacts on insurance, et cetera. So I don't know, there's a lot.
There's a lot. Nakona, anything you want to add?
Not to the CAL FIRE grant particularly. No, that pretty much covered the notes that I had. Yeah, that was, yeah, this December 15th was the date that I had down for the map changes and also for the qualifications for the forest health grant. So, yeah.
Nakona just reminded me, it made me think of it. Nakona did, although she didn't realize it. So a couple of things going on with the chipping program, and defensible space program for seniors, veterans, and low income. We have a grant. It's funding the chipping program for the county. I know many of you have taken advantage of that. We are actually trending below our projected targets for using those funding jobs. And so we honestly, and I can't believe we're saying this, but we need to spread the word that we need to use that program more and make folks that it's there. And in order to help make that available, we've actually changed the requirement, and you can access the program property now versus just the once. That's has been the practice. And so I think there has to be a 6-month separation from the first time to the second time. But you should go back to the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council website and look at that.
I actually had a
suggestion. Go ahead.
Sorry, just a suggestion to advertise the chipping program and the defensible space program a little bit more in our community. I've noticed a lot that our community works a lot off of Nextdoor for recommendations and things that they can do or services that they can receive. So Nextdoor has been a really good platform for, for neighbors to utilize, kind of a word of mouth advertisement. But I think that might be a good idea to put something on there from the Fire Safe Council stating that they're offering these programs. And then we also have, obviously Facebook is a big one, but we have our Somerset page where we can reach our community a little bit better.
We just got our other computer going on. There you go.
So
Hold on. Let's take this to 0.
This point is, yes, we need to work on some efforts to advertise the program significantly more to get the usage up. We're also seeing additional funding available in the defensible space program for seniors. So we reopened that program several weeks ago. We were targeting an additional 120 jobs. We're about 85% filled up in that program for capacity. That will take us through the rest of the year. We will again be in the defensible space program for seniors and veterans and low income early next spring with some additional funding that's coming. So all of these programs are growing because of the interest in the need in the county. And I bring it up because as we're out talking to folks and you're all talking to residents in our Fire Safe Council areas, our Fire Safe evaluators are out there. These are really becoming more and more viable in terms of their ability to assist. We've got more capacity. So, and we re-upped all the contracts to extend for more years, including Hargos are now part of that program. So they will be servicing portions of El Dorado County. So we're excited by it.
Yay.
I have 2 quick questions. What is the age for senior and what is the money amount for low income?
The age for seniors is 60, and there's a sliding scale for low income, and don't quote me, I believe it's right around the $30,000 annual income per single family. I think it ratchets up a little bit based on the size, but it's about in that range.
You can put it on there, store that information should be in there also, so people know. A lot of people that senior 62 or 65 or
right.
They knew it was available.
And what I would do is, and you can link right to the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council website has all the information for both of these programs. And so I would encourage you to go to there. You can grab the information right off that website, and absolutely anybody that's willing to share on Facebook and Nextdoor. There's that includes all of us from finding the different venues to share, as long as we're grabbing the information from the credible sources like the website. Absolutely.
Perfect. Any other questions for Ken on the significant amount of material that came up today. It was some good stuff. I'm really excited about the defensible space training. And Mike, whatever we need to do to get as many people in slots. I'm on board.
All right,
All right.
Ken,
What's
Ken,
going on?
this is Ken. Can you hear me?
Ranch, Shiloh,
Shiloh, anything?
Oh, hello?
yes. As far as Oklahoma Ranch Fire Safety Council.
Can you hear me, Janet? Ken?
And they're having a potluck and preparing a potluck.
Hello? Janet, Ken, this is Greg. Can you hear me?
Which will have guest speakers and varies between 12 and 2 o'clock, November 19th. Which will immediately after our fire safety council meeting. It was actually. So, if you're interested in coming, you're welcome to guest speakers from the Pioneer Fire Department. It'll be a PowerPoint on kitchen fire safety, prison prevention, and another presentation on the defensible space on being displayed, and then handouts. So there's and about January. As far as the wine signage from all of the 4 South County councils, we had our meeting yesterday, and it was very successful. We had 4 action items completed, and we have a few pending action items. One of them is soon to come, and that is with Mike agreeing to set up the South County at now Alcantara Play Fire Safe Council.org. It was requested that if you see a fire safe council as opposed to a general Gmail. So just for all credibility, if that was not conveyed to, it was discussed last in October. If that is something that you don't feel comfortable with, use certainly use Ranch, Grizzly, or Sandridge. It was just that you neighbors so closely into Amador County, and one of the phases of the wine signage is pilot Dorado County wineries first, and then because we're so close in with the neighboring wineries in Amador, just figured that would be a closer. If there's any objections to that.
So what emails are gonna come?
So what emails are gonna come to that from the, it would be if there was, so that we could have a place for communication, it would be someone inquiring. Okay. And Ken volunteered to take that on, but the group also have access to responding to that. We'll probably rotate in quarterly responsible for reviewing taking responsibility for who's going to provide Christine every time. If any. It's just a way.
Okay, I'm just
thinking because right now all of the fire safety, all of those
fire
emails
safety,
come
all
directly to me
those
personally.
emails directly to me, to my personal email, so.
You're asking me to create another account specifically for this particular.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
so
You won't get any.
It's gonna be tied to Kim and or Shiloh.
Perfect,
Both
that's,
on you.
That's time and job.
that was my concern.
That was my concern. The other thing is, so we committed to 3 meetings at Pioneer Park, and we want to thank you for setting that. It was wonderful. We had difficulty with Zoom, so we just decided to make the offer. However, in the winter months,
We're not gonna have any.
we're not gonna have any summer meetings, and January, February, probably March. Because we had so many action items, we're getting to the point where we're now able to, close to being able to send this off to our group of people that are computer savvy, and they're savvy that we just back information and the language, and then from there we'll send it to the.
Okay.
So we're hoping to be ready by March. And it has been a very, very, very rewarding opportunity to work for Fire Safe Council. Good, so we're looking
Good, so we're
forward
looking
to
forward to
the
the
rolling out and
rolling out and
so far it's been excellent.
excellent, excellent. Thank you.
And Shyla does a great job. You do, Shyla.
It's not a Sisyphean task, it's a Herculean.
Yes, it is.
Nobody
Chris, nobody from
Flats, and I don't see
Sandridge?
Sandridge.
Anybody from Sandridge?
So nobody from Sandridge.
So nobody from Sandridge.
So I'm going to defer.
So I'm going to
chair
defer
and
the
vice
chair
reports,
in
deference
to
to
our
our
speaker. Alan Thompson is here from the El Dorado County Amateur Radio Club.
County Amateur Radio Club.
For us
He
on
has
the
a
neighborhood
presentation
radio
for
watch.
us on the neighborhood
And
radio
kind enough to
watch.
come with
He's
his PowerPoint presentation.
His PowerPoint
Turn it over to you.
presentation, and
Thank
so
you
I'd like to
very
turn it over
much
to you.
for
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Janet. Kim, let's, since you're not gonna use this thing, let's quicker.
Oh, perfect. This guy's got should I use?
We can change the focus in the computer to the slideshow itself. So the slideshow. Yeah, okay, and then there's. There we go. All right.
Can we see this on there though? That's the.
I'm saying, we used to have really good, meaningful, engaging discussions. We get together and decide things and make things happen. But now since computers, like that all just goes away. So we have two technical problems here. I'm going to skip through some of the slides. We do have some audio in these slides, but I don't think it's going to come out unless it's going to come out through here, and that may feed back. My name is Alan Thompson. I'm the public information officer for the Dorado County Amateur Radio Club, Neighborhood Radio Watch Program, and Sarah, which you may not have heard of the other. This one's not this one, the Community Emergency Radio Association. And this is a nonprofit, certified 501c nonprofit that we started as a result of the Neighborhood Radio Watch Program and what's been happening with that program. It's exceeded our expectations in quite a few ways. We were suddenly faced with the fortunate dilemma of people wanting to donate money and equipment and resources, and we really had no good way to accept those donations because we didn't have a nonprofit. So we just set up the nonprofit to be able to allow us to accept donations, to apply for grants, just like the fire safe councils do. But a different pot of money that's out there. There's a lot of money right now that's being devoted to community safety and resilience programs, specifically around fire resilience. So, and that also includes communications, and that's what this is all about. How many members of the Neighborhood Radio Watch program do we already have in here tonight? Just a couple of you, okay. And how many of you are not familiar with the Neighborhood Radio Watch program? Okay, fair number. Okay, so we're gonna. I think the last time we were there was what, back in 2019, shortly before everything shut down. So a lot has happened since then. So I'm gonna just kind of briefly go through this. Let's see if this audio will play. No, it's not. Okay, we're gonna skip by this. This is some video that was shot up in Paradise. Well, I think it's gonna feed back though if we do that. So let me, I can try and turn it up and see. This was some video that was shot by one of our crew members. We were a team of 4 people that went up to Paradise 8 days after the campfire burned the town down. And our job was to install satellite internet systems to help get the cell phone towers up and running again. It was one of the first things that got decimated when that fire came into town. And you're seeing some raw video right here from our guys on what happened up there and some of the fire damage that we saw. That basically was obviously for the people who were there, but it also greatly affected all of us. And I came back with a sense of that I had to do something about this. I had to try and make some difference in my community because I saw a lot of parallels with what we saw in Paradise with the conditions that we have here in El Dorado County. And I think some of the recent events have kind of proven that out. Let's see if this is going to advance here.
And it is advancing, you're slow to advance.
It's just not advanced. Well, this is the zoom out.
Yeah.
I see. Okay, so we're kind of still movie. I'm just going to talk, and this thing will just have to catch up with me. So I came back and I had this wild, crazy idea. I'm an amateur radio operator, so I'm going to look at problems as being solvable using radio because that's the thing I'm familiar with, right? For most of us, we're never going to get a ham radio license. Okay, you got to take a test, you got to know something about electronics. It's just not going to happen. And as amateur radio operators, we know that. When I came back from Paradise, I thought, you know, maybe there's another route that people can use radio communications. And the reason why I got that idea was because when we were driving around in these trucks, there were no communications there other than us using some little cheap handy talkies. I've got one of them here someplace, just cheap little $20 and $30 radios that you buy at Best Buy or Walmart or wherever you get it, right? Home Depot. This is Midland, a little bit nicer brand. But that's how we stayed in touch. And if I was forced to pick up one idea that caused me that sowed the seeds of this neighborhood radio watch program, it was us being able to talk on those trucks when we couldn't use our cell phones and there was no other way to communicate. And when I learned about all the communications failures that occurred on the day of the fire, people were in their cars, they couldn't call them to find out if they were okay because the cell phone service was decimated. Not only did the power get knocked out, which can take a cell phone tower down, a lot of them have backup power, but that backup power can run out. But it also burned up the fiber optic cable that serviced the town within hours, that fire coming into town. And without internet, cell phone towers will not work. So we have to do something about this because what works? PG&E does a power down, right? One of their public shutdowns now. And an hour later, you lose internet. And an hour after that, your cell phone service no longer works. And then a fire breaks out. How are you going to get any emergency information if that cell phone is the only thing in your pocket that you get all your news, your sports, your entertainment, your movies, and also your emergency information? Because code red will not work if that cell phone tower can't transmit your phone. And by the way, I'm fond of asking this question. You know, how many of you in the room already have a radio? Hold up your hands. All right. Now, let me ask this question. How many of you already have a cell phone? I should see just about everybody's hand up. Okay, now keep your hands up. And I'm going to ask the first question again. How many of you in this room already have a radio? Because that's all this is. It's a radio, but it's a radio that has a central point of failure system. It's part of $1 trillion worth of infrastructure. All these cell phone towers, networks, and all of it depends upon the internet in order for you to communicate. I can't even call somebody across this room without a cell phone tower someplace nearby to handle that call. So that's why we said, maybe there's another way. Maybe people can have radios and learn how to use radios. Service doesn't work. So that when we do get into these emergency situations, we've got some way to communicate. We've got some way to get information about where's the evacuation warning, where's the evacuation orders. Where's the traffic jammed up? Can you relay a message to my family? I'm okay, we're okay, we're down in the Walmart parking lot, whatever it might be, we should have some way to communicate. Now, ham radio operators, we've been talking about this for years. You know, we talk about having when all else fails, we can still communicate. The thing is that ham radio operators seem to be, I don't know, reluctant, but they just haven't shared that out with the general community to enable other people to benefit from that same activity of being able to use radios. They say, no, you got to get a test, you got to take a test to get your license. So we found sort of a middle ground with a service called GMRS, and it stands for General Mobile Radio Service. Doesn't require a test. It does require a license, but the license is only $35. It's good for 10 years. It covers you, your spouse, your kids, your grandkids, your parents, your grandparents, your brothers, your sisters, and aunts and uncles, whether they're living with you or not. And let's hope they're not all living in the same house. Going to get a little crowded in here, okay? But that one license will cover all of them. So it's a pretty good bargain. And then we get radios, not these, by the way. This is different. If you're interested in this program, we will help you get the right kind of radio that works. Thank you, Golden. Golden is in the Neighborhood Radio Watch program. Golden is the head of the Consumers River Neighborhood Radio Watch. And he's the guy who's instrumental with growing that program in this area. And this is one of the radios he uses. This is a radio that comes out of public service. We buy these used. Sheriff's office, police, fire, businesses will use this. We get them cheap. We recondition them with new batteries in the back, and then we sell them at cost, which is about $75. For a $500 radio, you get a $75 for that, to get that radio. And this has pretty darn good range. The reason why we like these, you'll notice that there's not a lot of buttons on the front. You might have seen some ham radios that have all kinds of buttons and controls and all that. We don't want that. We just want it really simple so that you don't get confused when you're using this. You're in a stressful situation, you can pick up the radio call. Now, this is not a replacement for 911, for police, fire, sheriff, or for Code Red. It's a backup system in case those other systems aren't working. And we've used this system now since late 2019, Bob, in Kelowna and Lotus, I think was where the first program started. And people there pretty quickly they've adapted this so that you get a fire on Mount Murphy almost every year. It's like you just almost count on it, set your calendar by it. So they have a limited ingress and egress out of the area. A lot of tourists in the area, people rafting down the river, and there's extreme fire danger. And by the way, let me introduce Bob Hess. Bob Hess is the chairman of the Community University Radio Association. He's also a repeater guru. A repeater is kind of a fancy name for a radio tower. It does the same thing that a cell phone tower does. It just picks up the signal, little weak signals from these guys, and then it makes them stronger and then amplifies it back out. Bob has been instrumental in setting up these repeaters in various neighborhoods around El Dorado County. We now have about 500 people that are using radios. They practice every week. They get on the radio. Colton, in fact, just did a weekly net with his group. To come in tonight. He just did his radio from the car. And you had what, 10, 15 people? How many people checked in? Yeah, it varies from night to night. A lot of people will just listen. They just want to hear and just make sure that their radio is working. We encourage everybody to get on the radio though and learn how to use it, learn how to press the button, learn how to talk on the radio. Because first of all, you want to know that your radio is working when it's not an urgent situation. You've got something you can depend upon and you know how to use it, you know what buttons, of course, right? Where are we here? Oh, we're way back here with these guys.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm getting it to advance on Zoom. I can't get it to advance
So
here.
we're on a different page on Zoom than what we're showing up here.
Well, we'll just forget about that. I gotta say one thing about this. This is the Butte County Sheriff's Communication Reserve. These are a bunch of volunteers that set up radio programs in Butte County. They were instrumental in helping people use radios during the campfire and afterwards, after the campfire, not on the day of the campfire. They assisted the North Valley Animal Disaster Group with doing communications. North Valley Animal Disaster Group, how many people have heard of that? Do you know who they are? Yeah, Doris from our club came here and did a presentation a few months ago about it. Yeah. And those guys show up anytime there is a disaster and because people often evacuate and they can't find their animals. Or they can't take them with them. They've got horses or cows, but they don't have a trailer to haul those animals in. So North Valley volunteers, they get dozens of their folks to go into counties like Butte County, like El Dorado County. During the Dixie Fire, they were in Plumas County, they were in Butte County, they were all over the place. And what they do is they assist with going to visit people's houses and feeding and caring for the animals. And these guys, the North Valley or the Butte County Sheriff's Communication Reserve, they provided them with ham radios. And when I was in Paradise and I had my ham radio, I was listening to these guys on the radio and they weren't ham radio operators. It was obvious they were not. And I was going, what is this? How are they doing that? And then I found out later on that those guys had assisted them. And technically, you're not supposed to do ham radio, you don't have a ham radio license, but this was an emergency. And those guys sent a letter to the FCC saying we're going to have non-ham radio operators using ham radios. We hope that's okay. And they never heard back from the FCC, so they just went ahead and did it, which is fine. So that's another incident that occurred that made us start thinking, people need to have this as a toolbox, at least in our area where we got this fire danger and where the cell phones. We can't depend upon that cell phone service. Every cell phone site that I went to in Paradise, we saw the same thing over and over again. Little or no backup power, or backup power that had burned up because there was no defensible space around the fence that fenced these enclosures in. The fire would come right up through the brush, over the top of the fence, set fire to the equipment inside, and no internet. Okay, so every one of them, how there's what is it? And I never remember the number, PRC 42. Okay, 100 feet of defensible space around any structure. That's any structure. It doesn't say just any residential house, it says any structure. That includes cell phone towers. We never saw any evidence that they were doing anything to clean that space around those cell phone towers. And I think that's a disaster waiting to happen in every community. It's something we need to be aware of, something we need to mitigate ourselves, prepare ourselves to keep that from hurting us. But then also going forward, we need to make our voices heard in the community. If you hear about a cell phone tower going up in your area, and I do this now, I go to the planning commission and I hear this, they're considering a cell phone tower. And I'll get up and I'll ask, and they'll have a marketing rep there, usually from the company. And I'll ask them, what's your plan for backup power? How many hours will that backup power stay up? What's your plan for backup internet? And they have no idea.